Greetings, respected Bante. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Awakening Fans gathering. Let's begin by settling into stillness. It is a good opportunity for us to quiet our minds and set intentions for the discussions ahead. So, with the Bante's permission, I would like to invite you to guide us in a 10-minute sitting session, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Let's begin our session with a few minutes of sitting. So you can,
Bante, sorry, we can't hear you.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, everyone. So let's begin our session with few minutes of mindful sitting. Adjust your posture. Make sure that you are balanced and comfortable. And then you can gently close your eyes. Simply be present and notice what comes to your field of awareness. You may notice surrounding sounds. Certain bodily sensations are also there. Sometimes thoughts, memories come and go. Among all these things, we prioritize the most prominent bodily sensation. It might be the breathing sensations at your nostrils, or maybe the movement of your belly or chest according to the breathing. We give priority to that breathing sensation and simply try to keep our attention there. Time to time, various other secondary objects come, but among them, we repetitively navigate our attention back to the primary, or the breathing.
Thank you, Bhante, for guiding us in that beautiful silence, and thank you, everyone, for that sitting session. So let us move into our discourse discussion part for the day, and I would like to again respectfully invite our Bhante for to guide us in this discussion, and also today for the reading, I would like to invite Arali. So today we are reading from the Numerical Discourse of the Buddha, translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi. We are referring to the fourth title under Book 1, and the title is named Untamed, and we will be reading from the para 31st onwards on page 94. Arali, you can start reading once I share the screen, please.
Homage to the Blessed One, the Arahant, the perfectly enlightened one. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when untamed leads to such great harm as the mind. An untamed mind leads to great harm.
Yes, now this is a new chapter, somewhat similar to the last one we have been discussing. Now we'll go through the whole chapter, but I will invite you to pay attention to certain words here. Now in the first one, the highlighted words are untamed, which leads to great harm. Just simply highlight similar important words. Each and every discourse will have such two words. Yes, you may continue the rest as well.
Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when tamed leads to such great good as the mind. A tamed mind leads to great good. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when unguarded leads to such great harm as the mind. An unguarded mind leads to great harm. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when guarded leads to such great good as the mind. A guarded mind leads to great good. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when unprotected leads to such great harm as the mind. An unprotected mind leads to great harm. Bhikkhus, I do not see one other thing when protected that leads to such great good as the mind. A protected mind leads to great good. Bhikkhus, I do not see one other thing that when unrestrained leads to such great harm as the mind. An unrestrained mind leads to great harm. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when restrained leads to such great good as the mind. A restrained mind leads to great good. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when untamed, unguarded, unprotected, and unrestrained leads to such great harm as the mind. The mind, when untamed, unguarded, unprotected, and unrestrained, leads to great harm. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing that when tamed, guarded, protected, and restrained, leads to such great good as the mind. The mind, when tamed, guarded, protected, and restrained, leads to great good.
Yes, thank you for reading. Now, in the final two discourses, you can see the summary of everything. So the keywords are untamed, unguarded, unprotected, unrestrained. That type of a mind will lead you into great harm. Then tamed, guarded, protected, and restrained. That type of a mind will lead you to great good. Right? So this is the idea. It's 10 discourses in the fourth chapter, somewhat similar to the earlier one we have been discussing. Now, you get the idea. Last time also we pointed out certain things. If you can protect, guard, tame your mind, that's how you can lead your life into great good. If you have an unprotected, unguarded, untamed mind, naturally it goes into great harm, right? So you can see the forerunner. Mind is the forerunner. If you have it protected, you are protected. If you have it unprotected, then you are unprotected, right? That's how it is. So it's a complicated place, the mind. It's a dangerous place, the mind. So you have to make sure that you know how to prioritize. Even in our meditation, we prioritized certain primary object. That's what we do, right? Let it be your walking, sitting, or your daily activities. You are prioritizing a certain primary object. The rest, everything else becomes secondary. Whether it's thoughts, whether it's other bodily sensations, whether it's surrounding sounds, right? All these, everything else becomes secondary. That's how we do our practice. So you can see, as long as you are with a bodily sensation, your mind is protected. We can simply identify breath in the sitting or steps, the sensation of the steps in the walking, or even daily life, the bodily prominent sensations. We can identify them as our safe house. As long as your attention is with that, you are safe. When your attention goes to other things, you might be at a risk, right? So this is the very foundation of the practice. If you want to protect your mind, if you want to tame your mind, you have to understand this very basic. Even when you, let's say, if you get an opportunity to guide someone into the practice, mindfulness meditation, then you have to clearly tell them this. Their minds will always argue, tell, that, but I get the thoughts, my attention goes to the thoughts, I remember things, I'm irritated, I feel all these other things in my mind. That way they might come and try to argue themselves into those secondary objects. But it doesn't matter what comes to your mind, it doesn't matter what you feel apart for this primary object. All of them are secondary. We tell them it's not important. At the moment, it's not important. Let's simply continue our practice with the primary. And as long as you are with that, you are safe. That's your safe house. That type of a guidance is important. And let's say if you have been practicing for a while, you can answer this question. This idea came from one of the Satipasala sessions that we conducted a couple of days ago. And there one of the children in their report was mentioning, when I feel the breath, that's all I feel. I don't feel anything else. When I feel a thought, that's all I feel. I don't feel anything else. So this way, probably like 12-year-old was writing her meditation experience or mindfulness experience. So this is something important to understand in your practice. Let's say when you feel the breath for a moment, that very breath becomes your whole world. Your logical mind will tell that the rest of the world is there, but you can't prove it. Let's say your attention goes to a thought, right? In that tiny moment, while you are with a thought, what happens to your breath? Anyone, any thoughts? You can use the Zoom hand if you wish to answer. I'll repeat the question once again. For a moment, your attention goes to a thought, and during that moment, what happens to your breath? Yes, if we have...
Arati, you can unmute, then you can answer. And let's give the others a chance after Arati.
Well, your breath kind of goes into the background when you start thinking about a thought because it's not what you're focusing on.
Okay. Yes, others?
Samanthi, you can unmute and answer, please.
Answer, Swami Hansa. Breath is happening as usually, but our attention is not paid on that. It's paid on the thought.
Okay, yeah. Any other thoughts, ideas, please?
Neelamani, you can unmute.
Sometimes with the breath, with the thought, you can feel the breath also. Sometimes you may not feel the breath.
Yes, two layers. Anyone else?
I think we
That's
had
all it.
another Zoom hand up. Can't remember the name right now. Yeah, Nirosha, you can go ahead, please.
Just we don't feel our breath, but the breath is while keeping in our nose, but we can't feel it because our attendance is not in our nose. Just that is reason I think.
Bante
Yeah.
Subha, sorry. Bante
Yes.
Subha is messaging saying that breathing is still there. That's her answer. And I also want to add my answer is I really don't know, because if my focusing is on a thought, I really don't know. I'm not sure.
Then another one in the chat says, breathing is no longer there. Yes, thank you for all the insightful answers. So for a moment, let's say sometimes you can feel both the thought and the breath. I'm not talking about that particular moment. You can feel like layers in the mind. That's not what I'm referring to. Let's say for a moment your attention goes to a thought. You are fully with the thought. And most of the answers, you express that the breath is out there, but you can't feel it. Right? That's how your logical mind will figure this out. It will always argue that the breath is there. Of course, it should be happening. Otherwise, how can we continue to live? Yes, that's true. But for a moment, you don't know the rest of the world. That's the point I want to make. For a moment, for a tiny moment, that particular thought becomes your whole world. Nothing else is there. Right? Your logical mind will assume that the rest of the world is out there. But you can't prove it. right? It's just reasoning in your mind, right? So for that tiny moment, your whole world becomes that object. If that thought is negative, then you manifest a negative world, of course. Let's say your past incident, some hurtful past incident comes to your mind repetitively. For that tiny moment, it becomes your whole world. Every moment you experience that past memory, you go through that pain or hurt in your mind, right? So this is how it works. Whatever the object that catches our attention, that becomes our world for a tiny moment, right? So let's assume your mind repetitively goes to some negative things, or you have a toxic life partner. Unfortunately, I have to say that, use that word. Yes. So every moment you get into an argument, the whole day probably it's ruined, right? So your attention goes repetitively to those incidents. Most of your day becomes sorrowful, right? It's not only happening for a day, sometimes even tomorrow a different argument might come, right? So this way, even the people in our lives, maybe a family member, maybe a friend, maybe a spouse, I don't know, might trigger a chain of negative thoughts. Not only once, they repetitively do it. Then your whole world becomes darker. And if it happens frequent enough, then that might lead you into even something like a depression, right? So we have to understand the importance of our attention. If your mind rushes to negative things quite frequently, a negative mind is manifested, or a negative world is manifested. Not just a mind, the whole world becomes negative. Complaining, jealousy, anger, right? So all these things might create or manifest a negative world for you, right? We have to understand we are not experiencing the same world, although it feels like we live in the same world. We are experiencing a unique world in our mind. We all are all alone in our minds. So if your attention frequently goes to negative, toxic stuff, then that's the world that is manifested for you. Right? So in meditation, we try to repetitively tell how important the attention is. In modern day terms, they say attention is your brain's boss. Wherever the attention goes, the brain follows. Right? So you have to understand attention is precious. Where you give your attention, that becomes your world. That's why all these things are highlighted. 10 discourses are there in this chapter. 10 discourses were there in the previous chapter. All focused on a single thing. Untamed, unguarded, unprotected, unrestrained. Mind leads to great harm. Tamed, guarded, protected, restrained. Great good. Right? So what is tamed, guarded, protected, restrained? That is simply knowing where to keep your attention. Repetitively practicing that, repetitively bringing your attention to that. That's all you have to do, right? And as a result, naturally, your world becomes one with great good. This is the very idea given in this particular chapter as well as the previous one. And the Western type approach to mindfulness. This came to my mind recently because we have a foreigner here, German. He has been here for a week or so, and he knew mindfulness when he came here. And I was having few sessions with him in order to give him some guidance. And in his practice, he is mindful. That's what he is saying. He is aware, but no priority, no particular object of priority. So if I caught a statement from him, he was saying something like this. It was a pleasure to be in a forest environment like this. I feel real peace in me because of this environment. I can see whole lot of greenery surrounding. I don't see this much greenery, this intensive in my country. So it makes me feel more peaceful. I hear the bird sounds. I can feel the walking. Sometimes I remember past incidents. Future planning comes. So that way he allowed his mind simply to flow like a river. No primary object, simple, everything is secondary. That type of approach, right? That is more like the Western approach. They say, okay, I'm mindful, I'm doing these things mindfully. Like that, they simply talk about mindfulness, but that is more like a commodity to them. Right? But you have to understand in this elders practice, this proper technique, we are prioritizing a particular object. We don't simply allow our mind to flow wherever it goes. That is simply somewhat similar to no meditation, right? When you don't meditate, that's how it happens. So there's this very nice simile of Buddha explaining this. 6 animals. That's the simile for 6 sense doors. So you have 6 animals tied up in ropes, 6 ropes, and all the ropes are tied up together in the center. Right? Buddha gives even the names of the animals. A crocodile is there, a monkey is there, a fox is there, a dog is there, an eagle is there, and a cobra. These are the 6 animals. Simile of the 6 animals. And Buddha is saying each and every animal is tied up in a rope, and all the 6 ropes are tied up together and set free. What is happening? The crocodile will try to drag all of them into the water. Then the eagle will try to drag all of them into the sky. The monkey will try to drag all of them into a tree. The cobra might, try to drag all of them into a cave or something. The dog might drag them to the village. Then the fox might drag them somewhere else. So this way, all the 6 animals are pulling on the ropes, and probably the most powerful one will get its way. Probably the crocodile will drag all of them into the water. Right? So that's how the senses work. Our eyes, they are the most powerful. Probably secondary, of course, to the mind, but still, eyes are very powerful. Yes, when you see the sights, nothing else matters. That's why you sit in front of computer or TV, the sights are flowing, right? So You are fully locked in to your device. Nothing else matters. You forget the rest of the world. Then say, when you close your eyes in meditation, the sounds become bothersome. You suddenly complain about the sound of the clock. You are saying it is ticking all the time. It's a headache. It has been there for a long time, the clock. It has been ticking for a long time. But now suddenly it becomes a huge problem for you, right? So you can see these sensors, they take turns, they try to overpower you. Usually the most powerful sensors will win, either the mind or the eyes. Those are the most powerful. When you close your eyes, then the ears become prominent, right? So that way, these sensors are dragging you here and there. That's not the proper way of practice, according to Buddhist guidance. Instead, you tie up these 6 animals in 6 ropes, and all the 6 ropes are tied up on a pole, right? And due to this, you have a fixed location. It doesn't matter the animals are pulling, they can pull, but they'll be centering this pole. That's all they can do, right? So what is this pole? This pole is the prominent bodily sensation. The animal pull here and there, but it doesn't matter. Repetitively, you return back to the pole, right? So that's the proper approach. That's how you have to guide someone in your practice. Try to find somebody who is interesting and try to give them some guidance. It's not prohibited. You can do it. You have been practicing for a while, so you can really give some simple guidance. Don't use complicated words. Don't try to throw them some Dhamma teachings. Instead, tell simply what to do. That's important. That very clarity of mind is important about the practice. Yes. So that way we repetitively prioritize a certain object, the rest of the world or the rest of the things become secondary. And when you do that, how this mind becomes tamed. Now, last chapter, we were using some different words like cultivated, manifested, and one more word was there. Cultivated, manifested, something was there. Can we go back a little and see? Cultivated, developed. Yes, those 3 words. Cultivated, manifested, developed. So what are we cultivating? What are we manifesting? What are we developing? Right? That's important. In a way, we can say we are cultivating our spiritual faculties. We are manifesting our spiritual faculties. We are developing our spiritual faculties. Those 5 spiritual faculties will lead you towards great good. We can simply explain it like that. Right? What are these faculties? Faith is there, energy or the effort is there, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. Right? 5 spiritual faculties. So that's what we are manifesting. And when you manifest that, when you develop that, as a result, the mind becomes tamed. The mind becomes guarded. Mind becomes protected. Mind becomes restrained. We can simply explain it like this. Now, earlier a lot of doubt was there. Now you are developing the quality of faith instead of doubt, right? And earlier laziness was there, sloth. Now you are developing effort or energy. Heedlessness was there earlier. Now we are developing mindfulness or heedfulness. Restlessness was there earlier. You are developing concentration. Ignorance was there earlier. You are developing wisdom. So that way, in a way, we are developing these opposite qualities in our minds. And as a result, you become increasingly peaceful, or your mind leads you towards more peace. And these qualities, you can't simply target a single quality. You can't simply go after them. I am developing faith. You can't have that approach. I am developing energy. You can't have that approach. Instead, we prioritize mindfulness, and as a result, the rest of the faculties, or these 5 spiritual faculties, will be gradually developing. So this is the very training. Walking, sitting, daily mindfulness, that's the very training that's required for you to cultivate these spiritual faculties. This is the very training. And mindfulness is your way. It says that mindfulness is more like a supervisor out of these 5 faculties. If you are too faithful, if you have too much faith, that leads you into gullibility. If you have too much wisdom, then probably a dry heart. If you are too concentrated, probably you become drowsy. If you have too much energy, then restlessness comes. So you can see these faculties, they have more like a counterbalance. Faith will counterbalance with wisdom, then the concentration will counterbalance with effort, right? But only the quality of mindfulness, it doesn't need a counterbalance. And such simply, with mindfulness, you can see the off balances in the process. Sometimes you feel that you have too much energy, so it's time for you to dial it down a bit, right? So that way the mindfulness will lead you, and the rest of the faculties will follow. It's like tuning these faculties, right? So that way you can do the usual practice, walking, sitting, daily practice, and as a result, these faculties are cultivated, these faculties are developed. And that's how the mind is led to more peace. Let's say lust is a problem for you, right? And you are in a sitting session, and after probably like 30-40 minutes, you can feel your mind is peaceful, but the lustful thoughts, they start to flow. They come uninvited, they simply flow in your mind. But most of the people, they would feel that although the lust is coming, although these thoughts are coming, those thoughts are not disturbing my practice, or those thoughts, they don't have much power, something like that. They are more like tamed now. What has happened? Due to your 40 minutes of practice, these spiritual faculties are cultivated, developed in you, maybe temporarily, but still, due to that development, you can feel the thoughts are coming, but it is not challenging me, it is not dragging me away, right? So that type of a experience you can have. Even you do a residential retreat for a few days, you become really peaceful. You feel the thoughts are not so irritating anymore. The whole world becomes more comfortable, peaceful. Even the body becomes comfortable, peaceful. You feel like light in your body and mind. What is happening? These faculties are developed for a while, for a few days, and as a result, you are experiencing much more lighter body and mind. This change, it is not permanent. When you go back home, you'll go back to your usual ways. When you go back to your daily life, you'll go back to your usual ways. But for a while, for a short period, you start to feel that your mind is quite peaceful, calm, right? You feel less irritation in your mind, less friction in your mind. So these qualities appear as a result of the developed faculties. It might not be permanent, but for a while, for a short period, you can feel how these faculties work, right? So this is the cultivation that we do, and as a result, we feel less friction in our mind, right? So that's how the practice is. And I came across this teaching from Buddha probably like some few months ago. It was about the 5 faculties, and Buddha was explaining, if you have perfected the 5 faculties, then you become an arahant. Otherwise, in an arahant, these 5 faculties are perfected, completed, fully cultivated, right? That's an arahant. Then an outsider, ordinary person, a worldly person, that person lacks these faculties, lacks these 5 spiritual faculties, right? So a worldly person lacks these faculties. An arahant has perfected these faculties, right? So from lacking these faculties to perfection, that's the whole path of the practice. And probably like somebody from a different country who doesn't know this Dhamma, who doesn't know this practice, they might not know these qualities, they might not know meditation, they might not know Buddhism. So those people, they lack the faculties, they don't know. Then after practicing for many years, one becomes enlightened, an arahant, and they have perfected their faculties. An enlightened one has perfected these 5 spiritual faculties. So all of us, we are in between, in the path. Because we have heard this message, we have been practicing for a while. So at least you have developed these faculties into a certain level. They might be fragile, but still you have developed them. That's the important thing to understand. All of us, we are on the path. We have developed them. They are fragile, but still we have developed. We know about these faculties. We have been practicing, right? So we can't be considered as an outsider, a person who lacks these faculties. We can't be considered like that. If you have been sitting in meditation for like at least like let's say 10-15 hours, if you have been listening and practicing for at least like few days, then I'm sure, although these faculties are fragile, you have them within you. They might not be properly balanced. The counterbalancers are weak, but still you have them within you, right? So that's the important one. So Buddha gave an enlightened one and was explaining he has perfected his faculties. Then a non-returner, the next level. Their faculties are weaker compared to an enlightened one. Then once returner, even weaker. Stream entry, even weaker. Something like that, right? So we can see all of us, we are on the path. We might be traveling at different milestones. It doesn't matter. We have developed our spiritual faculties into a certain level, and that makes us travelers on the path, right? So that's the very idea. So if you can cultivate these qualities, if you can develop this mind, then as a result, your whole world becomes good. This practice will bring you great good. Great good it will bring you. That's the very idea. And you have to understand, don't say that you can't practice, don't say that you are weak, don't say that you don't have the strength to do this. That's not the correct way to do it. That's not the correct way to say it. Instead, you simply do your daily practice. Gather some hours, bag some hours. Then you can see you have progressed. Many people, without doing the practice, they are doubting, they are wondering. They are saying, I am weak. They are saying the defilements are too strong. They are saying the lust is overpowering me. All those things come. It is natural that the defilements overpower a mind that is weak, a mind that lacks these spiritual faculties. So what can you do? You can simply gather some meditation hours. As a result, the faculties become stronger and you can feel that you are much better off. Yes, day before yesterday, somebody was sharing their meditation experience, and it was like more like an year-end recap, right? So that person was saying, I started my practice in 2023. Now I have been practicing closer to 2 years, and 2025 it is ending. I'm going into 2026. I don't know what will happen there. But I remember the past journey. Initially, my mindfulness was very fragile. I was having many complaints. I was thinking that I couldn't do it. The defilements, thoughts, they were overwhelming me. But I kept practicing. And now my practice is much better, much stronger. Now I can be mindful throughout my whole sitting, walking session. And that person was saying, I can't remember when this change happened. I remember struggling many months ago in the beginning of my practice. And now I feel my practice is real strong. So this change, it happened gradually. That's why you can't recall it. You can't remember how this change happened, but it has happened. That's the most important thing, right? So if you, let's say you don't have to be doubtful about 2026. If you are a practitioner, you are led towards great good, right? 2026 would be a better year than 2025. I'm not talking about the world. I'm not talking about the world wars. I'm not talking about, natural disasters. Instead, if you develop your mind, you are always led towards betterment. That's the very idea. 2024 was better than 2023. 2025 was better than 2024. 2026 will be better than 2025. And that is assured because you are a practitioner. More hours you accumulate, better you feel in this world, because these faculties are developed. Once again, I'm repeating, you can't target these faculties. That's not how it is done. You can create the causes for these faculties. What is the cause? Simply being mindful in the moment. And when you gather such mindful moments, when you gather them for a while, you can see the faculties are developed. As a result, you feel much lighter in this body and mind. You feel less friction in this world. So that's the idea. Thank you for listening. I think I took too much time as well.
Thank you so much, Bhante, for your rich and insightful teachings as always. And with that, I would like to give all of you a moment. If you have any closing thoughts or reflections or any questions for Bhante, please take this few minutes to share them. You can, yes, Samanthi, you can go ahead.
අවසරයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. Yes, about that, the simile, the nice simile Swami Hansa mentioned about the 6 faculties, the animals. One thing I would say after Swami Hansa mentioned about that, I was thinking time to time, Swami Hansa is speaking, I'm listening, my attention goes to this, the words of Swaminatha, as well as that what I heard about the animals. I have seen that in a book before Loku Swaminatha or some writing. Then I wanted to solve something. Now I was looking at that Swaminatha. I was observing my mind, which was going to that point and again to Swaminatha's words. Then for a few seconds it goes back about that doubt. So it's really nice to see that, because when we are listening, or whether we are focusing to what we are listening, or our mind is wandering. Anyway, I need to ask that question, what was there about the animals. They were tied in a pole or column-like thing, or just the robes only together? What I need to ask Swaminatha.
Yes,
They were not fixed, Swaminatha?
Yes, Buddha in his story of these animals was explaining 2 occasions. In the first occasion, the 6 ropes are tied up together and set free. So that's the unrestrained senses. So the powerful one will get its way. Probably the crocodile. That's the second stage. That's the second occasion. Then all the 6 ropes are tied up on a pole, and as a result, their movements are restricted. The pole is their priority. Pole is their center. So that is anchoring your attention to a bodily sensation, primary object, and that becomes your center. The rest of the things, they become your secondary.
Sadhu. Understood, Swaminatha.
You can refer to that teaching, the discourse about 6 animals, or Chappanaka Sutta. You can read it.
Am I correct, Swami?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Samanthi, for that questions. I think it might help others to understand more about that Buddha simile. And now that, go ahead, Joseph. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Thank you, Kalpani. Hello, Bhante. I just wanted to ask, the DhammaKusala, when we're observing what's arising in the mind, that kind of sounds to me a little bit like maybe what that Western mindfulness person was doing. What would be the difference between the two?
Yes, now going into the practice might evolve, the approach might change, but I was talking about the initial approach, which is the bodily sensation, which is the priority of Kaya Anupassana. And it doesn't matter how long you practice, right? You simply start with your bodily sensation. Naturally, you are led towards various other stages, right? So most of the people, when you take simply that floating mind kind of approach, most of the people, they don't have their faculty strong, and they are mainly in a thought process,
Right.
lost in thoughts, while thinking that this is meditation, right? That's the issue here. So you have to first develop your faculties. It's more like a workout initially. You feel exhausted, tired. Workouts are not easy, but you have to do it. And gradually, the practice will take you. That's what we are saying. You can't force it. You can't, do Chittanupassana or Dhammanupassana thinking that I'll do this part. That's not the case. Initially, you start with your body. Naturally, it becomes Vedananupassana, or the mindfulness of pain. Then it becomes Chittanupassana. Sometimes the thoughts become prominent. Mindfulness of thoughts, let's say. Then sometimes the whole working of the mind, that becomes prominent, right? So that way, time to time, various stages might appear, but you have to understand the practice will take you there. You can't intentionally go after a particular stage. That's not how it's done. So we might have to be clear, or we have to assure that the practice is proper. Otherwise, most of the time, we are in the thought processes, we are simply thinking, wandering, and doing all those things, and we identify it as meditation. That we have to be cautious. Most of the Western type approach, I can see that difficulty. So that particular boy who visited here, he was talking about that. So, but after he has adjusted his practice, and he liked the formal approach or the working out part.
Mhm.
It might feel a bit difficult, you feel friction, but that's how you can lead your faculties to be developed.
Thank you for the clarification. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Joseph, for that question as well. And thank you, Bhante, for your presence and your valuable time. You are coming to our session early in the morning to you. It will enrich our life with Dhamma. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone. And thank you all for your presence and for your practice and your kind attendance. That will also enrich our sessions. We will see you again next week, the same time. Until then, take care.